So hello everyone, welcome to our transfer Q&A. My name is Karen and I'm a psychology major. I am one of the peer academic advisors for the School of Social Sciences, and I am also part of Foster Student Ambassadors. Just like all of you, I am a transfer student. I transferred from Long Beach City College. However, I am not from the Long Beach area. I am from Southeast LA. During this panel, students will be provided with some quick reminders about their degree checks. You will all get to know more about your peer academic advisors, and in the end, you will have the opportunity to ask questions if some were not answered. This session will probably last like an hour to an hour 30, depending on the amount of questions that we get at the end. And I will provide more details about that as we go further, but for right now, our academic advisor, Kurt, is going to tell you guys some important reminders about your degree checks.
All right. Thank you, Karen, and thank you. I see some attendees still coming in, so it looks like we have about 9 or so. So hopefully we get some more as we go along. But my name is Kurt Hessinger, and I'm one of the full-time academic advisors here with the School of Social Sciences. So happy Monday afternoon. Hopefully everyone had a good weekend and is dealing with the heat okay. I know it's pretty hot, but luckily I have some AC going, but I don't know how much longer I'll have that. But yeah, so what I really wanted to do for you today is a lot of you have already gotten emails probably from me regarding your degree checks and kind of recommended fall quarter course enrollment. So some of you have gotten different types of degree checks, but what I wanted to do is kind of go through what the degree check means, because I'm sure when you saw it for the first time, you're like, wow, okay, it looks nice and colorful, but what does all this stuff mean, right? What does the check marks mean? What does, the courses mean and things like that? So what I want to do is kind of give you the opportunity to see it firsthand. And I know later on, you'll probably have a chance to do some Q&A and we can answer some questions and things like that with it. But this part is more for me just to explain it to you so you know what you got via email. And then you'll be able to ask those questions later on. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so hopefully everyone sees a pink degree check sheet. So I think that's right? Everyone's seeing that? So Karen, is that showing up okay? Okay. So what the degree check is basically is everyone got something that looks basically like this. It may look a little bit different, maybe a different color, but basically this is kind of your overview of your whole major, right? So what you're looking at here is kind of, obviously it's a make-believe student. You might recognize the name if you watch Friends, right? So it's not really an ID number, but for the purposes of showing what it looks like, we put some kind of fake courses in there just to show you what it might have looked like on your end when you got the email. So the degree check has a lot of things going on into it. So you're obviously going to see your name, you see the ID number, that's your UCI student ID number. Advisor, usually like whoever fills out the degree check for you will have their advisor initials next to that. So you might see that during the academic year when we update your degree checks, you'll see that. The date that it was, done for you will be listed there as well. And prospective basically means like if you're not currently in the major, but you're trying to get into it and you're trying to change majors, you'll see that checked off too, because that means you're making your way towards into that major. But for the purposes of today, everyone's in the major because you're all international studies majors. Then you go down to the next level and you'll see 3 things here. You'll see UC entry-level writing, you'll see American history and American institutions. So those 3 particular areas represent UC requirements. So every UC requires the same 3 areas, right? As transfer students, everyone has the UC entry-level writing completed, right? So everyone has this done. It's standard. You have to have writing courses, right? The American history and the American institutions, though, may or may not have already been satisfied by other courses you've completed either through high school or through your other college. So it's not necessarily part of IGETC either. So it's kind of a different thing. It's like everyone has to have at least a semester, a year of American history, and also an American government class. So if you had that in high school, for example, if you went to California high school, then you may have already had both the history and the institutions, right? But let's say you didn't go to high school in California, maybe you went out of the state or out of the country, maybe it's not satisfied for whatever reason. Maybe you took an American history class at your previous college, maybe you took an American government class, right? So these areas, we're not sure if you haven't satisfied yet, only because UCI admissions is currently going through all of your transcripts. And once the fall quarter begins, you'll be able to see whether those are checked off, and you can always, email us and double check, but you might not see that checked off on there, but that does not mean that you haven't done it. It just means that, it's there and that's one of the requirements. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, the most important part of the degree checks though are these 3 columns right here. So these are kind of the nuts and bolts of kind of what you're doing with your major in international studies, right? Now in the first column, you're going to see general education requirements right here. So general education requirements are pretty standard, right? Every school has them. If you're coming from a California community college, many of you probably did the UCI GETC program. So what that is when you signed up for your advising session, on the form that you signed up for, there was a box there that said, okay, yes, I have UCI GETC. If you checked it off, then we put little boxes like with IGETC to show you where those areas are covered with the UCI general education requirements. So that's basically why those are there, right? And at the bottom, we said, okay, official UCI GETC needed. If it says that on your degree check sheet, that means you've told us you have UCI GETC, but maybe it hasn't been received yet by admissions, or we haven't had a chance to confirm it yet, all right? So what you may need to do, if it doesn't say it's been received already, you might still need to have your community college send that document officially to UCI admissions electronically with their transcripts, so that way we can update this IGETC once the quarter starts, okay? So ideally, you want to have that official GETC in so we know where you stand once the fall quarter begins. And the quarter begins October 1st, so you still have some time, right, when the classes start. But if you haven't had it in yet, or if we haven't confirmed it yet, then that's definitely something you want to have sent to UCI admissions so they can scan it in so we can give you full credit for that, okay? In the emails I sent to you, I may have said, okay, we've gotten your IGETC, it's been received, you're good to go, no problems, right? If it says that in the email, then you don't have to worry about it. But if it said, sorry, you still need to have that sent in, but we think you have it, but you still need to send it in, then that's something else you'll need to have sent in later on, hopefully later this summer. All right, so that's for the IGETC part. Now, if you didn't check IGETC, let's say maybe you didn't go to a school that had, UCI IGETC certification, this column might have different courses listed in there, and it might show up like, okay, you have some science and technology courses, but maybe you still need arts and humanities, or maybe you still need multicultural studies, okay? If that's the case, that means, well, you've done some of the UCI general education requirements, but because you have not done official IGETC, or you haven't told us you've done IGETC, then what that means is you still have some courses that you might have to take here at UCI to satisfy the general education requirements, right? In certain cases, you might say, okay, why don't you ask your community college that maybe you have a partial IGETC? Maybe we think you have it, but maybe you didn't request it. If that's the case, that was in your email to say, okay, check with your community college. Maybe you don't have the full IGETC, but maybe you have partial, which basically means you're missing 1 or 2 courses only. Okay, so if you're only missing 1 or 2 courses, then you can get that official document from your community college, and then we can certify to see if you can take those classes here, and then later on, you can get the full IGETC. All right, so those are the things that you want to look out for, and you probably saw in those emails that we sent to you regarding your enrollment. Now, there were basically 3 things that aren't covered through IGETC as part of social sciences, and you'll see them listed here in the first. The first part is the upper division writing requirement. So basically, every student at UCI has to do an upper division writing requirement. And the way that you know it's an upper division writing course is it designated with a W after it. So for example, international studies 154W or social sciences 184GW, okay? So anything that has a W at the end of it would designate that as an upper division writing course, and it would be eligible to count within that area here at UCI. But it's not covered through IGETC, so it's not something you could have done at the community college, so don't worry about that. It's not something that you didn't do wrong. It's that every student has to do something here while they're at UCI. All right, so that's one area that you have to look at. The other area that's not automatic is the School of Social Sciences math requirement, right? And the math requirement, you have 2 options. If you did like a semester of calculus and a semester of stats, then maybe you have this done already. Okay, it's a possibility, and it would have been indicated on the degree check that we sent to you via email, all right? However, if you did a semester of stats, like for example, it's listed here, stats 10, well, that covers what we call stats 7 here at UCI, right? So that means you still have 2 options left to go. You still have to do some more math here in social sciences, right? And you have the option of doing either on the left-hand side, social science 10A, 10B, 10C, which is a year-long sequence in social science probability and statistics, right? Or you could do calculus, which is math 2A and 2B, but in many instances you'll have to do a placement exam to get into that if you're planning on taking that here at UCI, right? Now, you might decide to do one or the other. You might look at calculus and say, okay, hey, I want to do math 2A, 2B because it's only 2 classes versus 3. But the way you want to look at it is calculus is an abstract math, right? It's used a lot in like science majors, economics, right? Not necessarily required in international studies, right? So some students that really wanted to get into more math, they might decide to do that, right? It's more popular for most of our international studies majors to typically do the 10A, B, and C because it provides more in-depth into practical statistics within the majors of social sciences, right? And it's really only one more class typically, so it's not going to put you behind if you do that. So in our emails to you, we typically recommend social science 10A, B, and C, unless you come back and say, hey, no, I definitely want to do calculus. In that case, we can tell you how to do that, and that was also listed in the email, okay? So hopefully that's clear. So you have the 2 math options right there. And then the last part is the School of Social Sciences computer technology requirement. And that area right there is actually just a 1 course completion. And we kind of tell you right there, ICS 31 or Social Science 3A are the 2 courses that complete that requirement. But typically, most students will choose the Social Science 3A because that's kind of the computer research and social sciences course that's more practical for a lot of our majors in social sciences. And that's only a 1 course commitment, and we offer it every quarter. So you can take it in fall quarter, winter quarter, in the summer, right? But every student in social sciences has to do at least 1 computer technology class, okay? So if you've done that also at your community college, and we would have listed it there as well too, but many students have to do that class here at UCI as well. All right, so that's column 1. So hopefully that made sense for GEs. The next 2 columns have to do with your major requirements, which is kind of the meat of what you're looking at for your majors, okay? So what you see on top here is you'll see a series of numbers like sections, right? Like 10, 11, 12, 13, right? And each line here represents a course that has to be completed as part of the major in international studies. So in this example, we said, okay, fall 20 international studies 1, you may have enrolled into that already, right? And then you have to select 4 courses from a group of 5 that are listed here, right? You don't have to take them in order. You can take them out of order. They just represent different topics within international studies, okay? So any 4 of the 5, at some point during this first year or the first 2 years, you'll need to take those, right? So it's 1 here, 4 from this group. Then you also have 1 from this group here, which is like culture, anthropology, world history, things like that. And in this example, we have a student who's actually done a course in geography, world geography, so we give them credit for that, right? So anywhere that we've seen that you've done a course and you've gotten credit for it, we've placed it right here. And we put an asterisk next to it, right? So that means you've done it previously. You don't have to worry about it. It's all completed. It's, you know, you're good to go. If it's left blank, like up here, that means you do have to complete those courses because you didn't necessarily have a course to complete from your previous school. So those are required to take here at UCI. All right. Now, if you go down to 13, that's one of the specialized requirements for this major in international studies. Okay. So IGETC typically covers category 6, which is your language other than English, right? For every major but this one, you might be okay with it, right? But for international studies, we require students to go through what we call the 5th quarter of a language, which is usually what we say 2B. So like Spanish 2B, Italian 2B, Chinese 2B, all right? So the 2B is the 5th quarter. So if you've only done, say, like 2 semesters of a language previously, then you have to do probably at least 2 more. And you probably will have to do a placement exam for that language here at UCI as well to see where you're going to start out with, all right? So that's one of the differences between the international studies majors and some of our other majors, is that many students will have to do more foreign language. And knowing that, because I'm telling you right now, is you want to start with that very early in the process, right? It's not something that you want to delay, because if you wait to the last, your last 2 quarters and you know you have to do 3 classes in the language, well, it's going to be hard to do, right? Because you can't really get it all done in 1 quarter. That's a lot of language, right? And to put the language in perspective, UCI teaches a whole year of 1 language in 10 weeks, right? So you're learning, it's a very fast-paced language course. So if you're taking, like, say, Spanish 2A, and that's about the 4th year of a language, you're covering a full year of languages at UCI in 1 quarter. All right, so make sure you plan ahead. Start thinking about what language you want to complete now, and then take the steps necessary to take any placement exams you might need down the line, because you don't want to wait too long for that. Okay, so that's one aspect. Then you have what we call an International Studies Forum class, right? And that's basically, you have to take the same class twice, right? And it's 4 units each, but the classes differ each quarter. So you'll take 2 quarters, and it's really more current events and global issues. So you have some guest lectures, guest speakers, things like that. So typically you'll take 1 in your first year and then 1 in your second year, right? To make it, balance out, all right? Then you come down and you see number 15, geographic focus. That basically means you need 2 courses that focus on 1 geographic area, right? So it could be 2 courses from Asia, 2 courses from Europe, 2 courses from the Americas, all right? So 2 courses have to come from the same region of the world, and those courses can be found on a list that we sent to you on your emails. There's a link, and next to those courses, we actually indicate what regions those are covered through. So to the right of those links, it'll say like this area covers Africa, Middle East, this area covers Europe, this area covers the Americas. So the list changes every quarter, so you don't have to do it all in 1 quarter, but you do have to have at least 2 before you graduate that focus on just 1 area of the world, okay? Then we move over to the top here, then it gets a little bit more of a course choice up here too. You'll see some different numbers. So this is your global focus area. And here you need a total of 5 classes. You'll see that right here, right? And then 2 of the classes, which are 1 and 2, have to come from Module A, which is right in this grouping right here, all right? So you already know ahead of time, okay, I need some type of course, at least 2 of them from this group, all right? Now, not all of these courses are offered every quarter, right? So you might see them split up. You might see some offered in the fall, some in the winter, some in the spring. But before you graduate with International Studies major, you have to have at least 2 that come from this group, all right? Then you have Module B, which is 3, 4, and 5. Well, these courses have a lot more course choices, right? And there's a list, and you'll see a link here that actually you can go to, and the course list that we have that is every quarter will tell you what areas those cover as well. And those 3, 4, and 5 courses can come from any of the areas listed there, okay? So again, it's not something you have to do in any particular order or sequence, things like that. So you can actually work on global focus at the same time you're working on geographic focus, right? Or at the same time you're doing the lower division courses, as long as you get these courses done before you graduate, all right? Typically, you probably want to really hone in on the lower division courses first, get those knocked off, get those out of the way. That makes it a little bit easier then to focus on some of the upper division courses later on, okay? And then the last part that you see here, number 17, is what we call the international field experience, which is another aspect that's different from our other majors. All right, so our field experience, basically, many students will probably choose to go studying abroad, right? If everyone could do it and everyone had the time to do it, that's the most popular option, right? So many of our students have studied abroad in different countries of the world. They've gone to colleges in, like, say, France or China, or they've gone to Italy, anywhere else. And they've taken maybe a semester of courses, and then that alone, by going abroad, studying abroad through the UC EAP program or UC EAP, will satisfy this requirement, okay? Students can also take classes while they're abroad at those colleges, and this can possibly satisfy either the geographic focus areas or even up here in the global focus, depending on the courses that you take while you're abroad. And once you've applied through UCAP and you know where you're going, then you work with our office to petition those classes, and then before you go which classes might be counting in these 2 areas when you study abroad, all right? Now, obviously, being the remote environment and things like that, there is no EAP right now for the fall quarter, but since many of you are still going to be here for the end of this year and into the next year, obviously the hope is that the EAP program will be thriving and you'll be able to go to a lot of different countries here in the next 2 years. So hopefully that option will be there for you, and that's something you have to plan ahead too, because the deadlines for going abroad, some of them are like 6 to 8 months in advance or even longer, depending on what country you're going to. So definitely plan ahead if you're thinking about, yeah, I definitely want to go to Australia, for example, and that deadline, for example, could be 8 months out. Well, you might want to start looking at that once the quarter starts. That way you know what application process there is and what documents you need to provide, all right? So that's the most popular option, but you see other options here too. For example, you'll see Olive Tree Initiative, which is another program that we have. You could do the UC-DC program where you do an internship in Washington, DC that's internationally focused. You could also do an internship that's local, right, which is our internship program, Social Science 197. And with those, we have kind of like pre-approved internships that past students have done if you want to stay local. And it's a 100-hour commitment for an internship. And you also enroll into the Social Science 197 class that goes with that internship. And so if you can't do the abroad or the other options aren't available to you, then you could also do an internship to satisfy that requirement as well. All right, and then we also have Global Connect, which is a great program in social sciences. It's a year-long program where you actually work with local high schools in the area and you focus on international issues with local high school students, and you actually get to work one-on-one with high school students and the teachers at those high schools as well. So that's a fun program as well. So that could be an option for you. All right, so there's a lot of options here that you can actually look at and we can help you out with during the year, but the key is plan ahead. Right? Don't wait too long to get these things done because they do require some advanced planning on your part. All right. And then the last part to look at here, which you probably don't see it yet because we don't know how many units yet that you're coming in with because they're still being evaluated. Everyone needs 180 units to graduate, and those are quarter units. All right. Now, once we know what your units are from your previous school, we would place that here in this area. Okay. And then we would subtract that from the 180, and that would say, okay, now maybe I have 75 more units. If I came in with 105 quarter units and now I have 75, maybe this quarter I'm taking 12 units and I would put the 12 units in the in progress area. And then maybe my estimated units might be 63, right? So that tells you how many units you need to get to the minimum, which is 180. So every student needs 180 units to graduate. You can go over that, that's not a problem, but you at least have to have that many to graduate. Okay, so that's the key there. But we didn't fill that in for you on the degree checks because they're still being evaluated by UCI admissions. All right, so I probably took more time than I should have already with this, but I definitely wanted to like make sure you understood the kind of the full length of what your degree check looks like. And again, you'll have time in the Q&A and things like that to ask those questions. But at this point, then I will turn it back over to Karen for the remainder of the session, but I'll still be around. So hopefully this helped out with the beginning of the session.
Okay, so thank you, Kurt. Before our lovely peer academic advisors introduce themselves, we have prepared some questions for our PAs to answer. A peer academic advisor are also students just like you. We go through a quarter-long training to help students with scheduling classes, general academic questions, and academic resource. Today we have 8 other PAs with us who will now be introducing themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Marimar. I'm one of your peer academic advisors. I'm going to be a 5th year and I'm a double major in international studies and public health policy. And I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. I'm a residency student and currently double major in economics and data science.
Hi everyone, I'm Christine. I'm also a double major in psychology and political science, and I'm going to be a 4th year. It's nice to meet you.
Hi everyone, my name is Iris, and I am a sociology and psychology major, and I'm going to be a 5th year this upcoming year. And I'm so happy to meet you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Katherine. I'm also a psychology and sociology double, and I'm going to be a 4th year.
Hey guys, I'm Waylon. I'm a psychology major and I will be a senior this year. Yay!
Hello everyone, my name is Jessica and I'm a 4th year double majoring in quantitative economics and data science.
Hi, I'm Christy. I'm a 3rd year and I'm double majoring in social policy and public service and education.
Okay, so our first question for our panel is, this is most for our transfer PAs. So it's, how did you adapt to UCI as a transfer? How did you feel? What did you do and how long did it take you to adjust? Okay, so I'll begin. So to begin with, to adjust to UCI academically, because it follows a quarter system, it took me about like 2 quarters just because like everything is a little fast paced. But most of my study skills like helped me pass my classes, such as making up my own questions about the lecture, like self-tests. and having like a weekly calendar to write in deadlines and cross them out when I was done. Socially, I think it was a little bit more harder for me in the beginning because I didn't know anyone and I was so shy. I cried, I admit. However, like joining a club and going out of my way to talk to my housemates like really helped me out a lot.
Iris, you want to go before I have this long, long answer?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So my transfer experience at first was kind of overwhelming, to be honest, because it was a huge campus and it was kind of hard to adapt to, you know, that whole vibe. But I honestly, I just got courage and I started to socialize, talk to everybody, and everybody was pretty nice. It was not that bad. And in terms of the courses, I had to adapt to a more like um, freestyle writing when it comes to exams because I was used to like the multiple choice in community college. So I had to more like go in depth with the material. And honestly, it took not so much for me to adapt. After that, I kind of told myself I'm here, I have to make the best of it. So I just reached out to students, the social sciences, the academic advisors, and they were awesome. So I think it was a great experience after that. So yeah, so if you're feeling scared, it's normal.
Now I feel like my answer is going to scare some people. I'll try to keep it not too scary, but if I'm honest, like if I'm really honest, how I first felt as a transfer when I first came into UCI, it was really overwhelming. It was like a rush. And I'm going to be honest, it was kind of lonely at first. First off, I always got lost on campus. I'm not sure if it was just me, but everyone was already like getting around on campus, going to their classes, and there's me like running through like Aldrich Park trying to find where am I going, where's my class, and then end up in the wrong classroom. And a lot of the times I would use Google Maps or Dot Finder in order to, you know, get where I'm going. And then, oh, look, that's Starbucks right there. That usually means this class is usually right here, kind of thing. Also, the quarter system was very new to me. I don't know if it's just my area, but everyone in my area was doing a semester system, which means, you know, 16 weeks. We get you know, like 3 months, something like that. So I'm like, oh, that's great. But now in a quarter system, everything's rushed. I suddenly have a midterm my second week. I have to like squeeze everything in so fast. And there's like no time to procrastinate. You procrastinate, oh my gosh, I pray for your soul. So that was pretty overwhelming. I do recommend please take 12 to 14 units your first time. I'm not being paid to say that. I'm actually like, please asking to do that. Just because for me, just taking 3 classes already was overwhelming just because I was transitioning to a new campus. And honestly, you may think, oh, you know, I came from a community college. I already know how college is. Community college and university, especially UCI, is a very different experience. So I really recommend taking it slow because I had to learn my lesson there. And I think everyone kind of already touched on this, but it was kind of lonely, not just because I'm really shy, but as a transfer, many of the classes that I had to take, like I had to take an introductory course in psychology, everyone were freshmen or everyone were dorming and they already had their friendship circles, and I felt like an outsider at first, and it felt, you know, really lonely. At least for me. I don't know if anyone else felt like that. But in order to really, you know, engage in the community and feel like I'm part of it, I really recommend joining clubs. I really recommend just getting involved. Go to a concert, go to one of the events, you know, do anything, because you have to be the one to reach out at this point. You're a college student, you got this. You can reach out, join a club, go to a social activity, whatever you need to do in order to really feel like you're part of the community. But yeah, again, it's going to be overwhelming and scary at first, but don't worry. Take your time. It'll take time to transition. But I mean, that was my experience.
All right, thank you, Waylon. So our next question actually involves clubs. So the question is, how did you get involved on campus? What clubs or organizations are you in? And how can students get involved? So I'll start again. So the club that I am in is called Foster Student Ambassadors. It is dedicated to helping current or former foster youth with like transitioning, food, housing. We have over 600 clubs at UCI, and I'll be putting the link in the chat for you guys to see.
I guess I'll go. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Mine is called In Christ Alone, also known as ICA. We are a Christian group. We just basically come together to like learn more about God and like purposes and just like have a deeper understanding of where the religion comes from. Yeah, so that's pretty nice. How I got into it is basically I wasn't expecting to get into a club. It wasn't my intention because I just didn't think I was a very club kind of gal. But then a lot of people in like your freshman year, especially, like they just kind of like, they're very explorative at that stage, unlike me at the moment. So a lot of your friends may ask you like, oh, can we go to a club like over here together or like over there together? Because that was me. I was that one friend that people just like dragged along to different clubs. But it's pretty fun. Like it's great to take another friend along because then you're not like feeling overwhelmed by the new environment or like new topics that they bring to you. And it's pretty nice. Like they also ask you for your contact information, not to like pester you or pressure you, but just to like remind you in case you forget like, oh, there's like an event coming up. If you're like interested in joining us again, I would really highly encourage you guys to try because it's also like a social and like study and the topic of like the whole reason for that club getting together, like it's all combined. So I would highly recommend you try out a club. Yeah, I would just say if your friends are interested in clubs, then just try it out first and then see. Yeah, that's how I got into it.
Okay, I'll try this time. So as I mentioned before, I really recommend joining a club. If you want to be active or explore some clubs, Karen posted a link below that has over a list of like 600 clubs and organizations you can look for. I definitely also recommend getting a Facebook because you can definitely get in contact with them, and that's the best way to talk to them and get more information that way. Personally, I'm in 2 clubs. I'm in Tomono Kai, which is a cultural and social club that explores Japanese and Japanese American cultures, and anyone can join whether you're Japanese or not. Pretty much, if you're interested in the culture, join our family. I'm also part of the Anteater Studio Audio Production Club, which is pretty much, if you know what making music is, audio production, pretty much that's what it is. And honestly, I'm hoping to get into being a board member this year, hopefully. If you want any information about it, please DM me or I can send a link of their site and their Facebook.
I completely agree with everyone. For sure, check out the website posted on the chat and then also Facebook, which is very beneficial, especially in your first quarter at UCI, since they're always posting like involvements or opportunities for like new students. As for myself, aside from being a peer academic advisor, I'm also a peer health educator at the UCI Center for Student Wellness and Health Promotion, where I engage in volunteer experiences in our health fairs called the ZOT Health Fair, which is our annual fair. Also De-Stress Fest, which is held like in finals week. They kind of serve as spaces for students to alleviate stress and to learn of health resources on and off campus. I'll also post a link for like future information and if you are interested in the position as well. I'm also involved at the UCI International Center as an Across the Bridge coordinator, where I facilitate conversations between international, domestic, and exchange students. In this upcoming year, I'll also be part of the Public Health Honors Research Program. So if you're like interested about, conducting your own study or working under a professor, you should always contact me. I'll be happy to talk about it.
I would also like to add a club that I'm part of. It's called Latinx Student Psychological Association, LSPA. I'm a board member, member relations for the 2021 academic year. And this club is, it says psychological, but it's open to any majors of any year, and that are looking for a sense of community to build an academic family and to learn more about community, academics, research, practical experience, and all that stuff that kind of embeds in the student experience. We have a Instagram page that I will put in the chat so you guys can check us out.
As for me, I'm in a like women's frisbee club. It's a sports club, and for sports club, they usually have like trainings for twice a week or 3 times a week, and yeah, it's basically for group bonding. You can have like group dinners or competitions during weekdays or weekends. So like you can get involved by hanging out with your teammates, and it's pretty fun. And I strongly recommend like you check out a sports club.
So I'll talk about involvement I was in last year because I thought it was relevant. Kurt mentioned the Global Connect program that could fulfill the international studies requirements, and so I did that last year. And basically, I was put into a small group, and then like the 4 or 5 of us, we went to a middle school once a week, every week, and we taught them class lectures about diversity and globalization, and it was really fun just like getting to know our students. Like literally you're the ones teaching the class, and then the actual teacher of that class just kind of like watches you and like kind of like cheers you on and supports you. So it was a really cool experience. And yeah, you can actually apply just on their website. I believe they take applications like anytime. And then there's also opportunities for Spanish speakers. There's like a specific program where they teach students in Spanish.
Okay, so next question. Tell us about a campus resource that you recommend the most. What are resources that transfer students should take advantage of?
I would say something. I believe for me, when I first transferred, I didn't take advantage of all the resources, but when I did, I took advantage of SARC. SARC was very informative to me. It kind of like opened my eyes towards if I wanted to pursue graduate school. They have so much information in regard to that, resources, people who you should reach out to, how to build a good strong student candidate for graduate school. And I believe that's one of the resources that's most underutilized by students in a way. If they don't really it's open to all majors, I believe, and just because it's in social sciences, it's just social sciences. But I mean, I think everyone can utilize those services to help them, succeed in their academic journey. For me, that was one of the best meetings that I had with Carissa, one of the directors. So yeah, I feel like you guys should check out SARC.
I guess I'll go. So for me as a transfer, everything felt rushed. Like we only have 2 years to really experience UCI unless you take another extra year, which is totally fine. But still, I feel like it's super rushed. And I'm like, oh, I already have to find out what I want to do with my life. What's my career? Oh my gosh, how am I going to figure all this out? For me, I really enjoyed using the Division of Career Pathways to my advantage. The main source for the UCI career resources, they have job and internship postings. That was it. Which is honestly really helpful if you want to find a job or explore some future occupations that you want to try out. They're able to connect students and alumni to realize their career potential by providing tools and supports for their career goals. Personally, for me, I took advantage of, I took advantage of their resume workshops, which is really helpful because they'll actually go through your resume and help you critique it and clean it up and make it look professional and amazing. And also their mock interviews. If you are super, super nervous and you don't know what you're gonna do when you go to an interview, definitely make an appointment and do a mock interview to get ready, know what kind of questions they're going to ask you and what's the best kind of answer you can give to get that job, hopefully get that job. Which honestly, they actually introduced me to becoming a PAA, which I'm thankful for them for, because they're like, oh, you're interested in academic advising, try being a PAA. So honestly, I wouldn't be here without the Division of Career Pathways. They also offer webinars, workshops, information sessions, career fairs, so on and so forth. And so I'll send a link as to how you can contact them, but I definitely think you should check it out.
So as transfer students, I really recommend the Transfer Student Hub. It consists of many other programs to help transfer students. So for example, there's the first year transfer experience program. They provide workshops, LARC scholarships, book loans, discounted printing, and so much more. There's also the Transfer Triumph program, which helps students who may be struggling or are on academic probation. And yeah, it's like very great for transfer students, and I'll be providing the link on the chat. Also, to quickly mention, if you were in the foster care system, there's a program at UCI called FIRE, which stands for Foster Youth Resilience in Education. So it doesn't matter what age you were in the foster care system, they will accept you, unlike other programs at community colleges, such as Guardian Scholars or the HOPE program that only accepts foster youth over the age of 16 if you were in the foster care system. UCI is so unique when it comes to helping foster youth. So yeah, apply if you're in the foster care system, and also check out the Transfer Student Hub.
I wanted to mention the Writing Center as well. I've used the center multiple times, for just essays or scholarship applications. So I'll definitely recommend it. You could just go online and set up an appointment, or you could stop by, I believe they're called walk-in hours. They're held in various places on campus. So you could just check out their website once we do go back on campus. They really give you really great feedback. The only thing is you have to start a little early on your assignment. I know, speaking for myself, I sometimes don't. But if you do start a little early, you could definitely go get feedback once or twice and improve on that as well.
Okay, so next question. You recently experienced remote learning at UCI, which is on a quarter system. Tell us more about your experiences and best advice.
I'll go. For the remote learning this past spring, my number one recommendation is to not, since some courses are not going to be on a steady schedule, they're going to be probably pre-recorded or in some sense like that. You should just stick to a schedule and don't let your pre-recorded lectures get all bundled up, and then you have to watch all of them and then get ready for a midterm or something like that. Have a consistent schedule, because it's so easy to procrastinate and slack off. And trust me, it happened to me, and it wasn't that great. So I think it's just to have a steady mind and yeah, just be mindful of your courses. That's my main advice.
Adding on to what Irish has said, I suggest keeping track of your email notifications, because especially in remote learning setting, professors and TAs usually communicates with students via email or the announcement tab on the Canvas. So yeah, please keep track of the email.
I just want to, oh, sorry, go.
Sorry, no, go. Okay, I'll go. I'm sorry. Yeah, I would say basically what it looked like is what was already said. Yeah, a lot of your lectures will be pre-recorded, but some will be live. Some professors did want to do it live, and that's just totally up to them. So don't expect all of them to be pre-recorded. But what I wasn't expecting in spring quarter was when I heard pre-recorded, I assumed that it would be sent out on the same day of the same day and time of the actual lecture time that we signed up for. But it can come even a week later, or even before the time or day you're expecting. So when Iris said to keep track of all the videos that you should be reading and taking notes of and watching for that week, I highly recommend that too, because if the pre-recorded videos come out all in the same week, 2 weeks later or something, or a week later, for example, you're gonna just have a whole bunch of information to have to go through. So don't procrastinate on the lectures this time, because it's remote for sure. Yeah, and the days kind of just blur together because you're just kind of in the same house for the most part, or the same area. So it's hard to keep track of time. So make sure you have a planner, I would say. I still use a planner over the summer to plan for graduate school things, because it's so easy for me to lose track of time when I'm in the same space. So keep that planner if you like to use planners. Yeah, and make sure to take mental breaks. I actually had to take more mental breaks during my remote learning experience, my physical learning experience, because it's just such a new setting and we never had to do this before in the history of America, or I think the world. So it's just good to learn these things at your own pace and make sure you take a little breath here and there and keep going.
Yeah, I really just want to emphasize what Christine said at the end there, to like really prioritize your well-being, because I don't know if like my fellow PAs or even perhaps you all are like experiencing burnout. I'm definitely like getting towards the part where I'm like, I'm really unmotivated, just kind of tired. So it's really important to take time to yourself. And even if you feel like you should be working all the time, don't work all the time. Don't work super late unless you function late, but like rest during the day. I would just say, because if you get to that point where you just don't have the energy to focus, like if you just stare at your page, literally earlier today, I was staring at my page and was like scanning it. And then I was like, I don't know what I just read. So don't get to that point where you're wasting your own time by like forcing yourself to do work. So just really keep everything organized, but like even pencil in your like your breaks, because that way it'll be like give you something to check off. So if you're looking for the next thing to do, take a 15-minute like meditation or deep breathing is like recommend.
Okay, we'll move on to our next question. So for our PAs who dormed or lived near UCI before this pandemic happened, how do you commute around campus, and what were some advantages and disadvantages?
I guess I'm going first. So first off, I live near UCI, which in a way, without the traffic, that's about a 15 to maybe 20-minute drive away. Honestly, I found both a benefit and a disadvantage to living at home. Good thing is I don't have to spend money, living on campus, not drowning in debt. I got my parents, yay, food. um, but I also found for me that kind of isolated me a little bit, especially as a transfer. Many people I know were living in the dorms, and many of my friends were like, oh yeah, we're having a dorm thing. And I'm like, who? No, I can't. I don't live in a dorm, so that's not fun. Also, I found that for me, there was less motivation to try to like go to club meetings at first, because I'm like, I'm driving all the way back from home to school. I'm driving all day. So I don't want to like go back to school at 6 p.m. to join a club. I'm like exhausted by that time. Not sure if that was just me. Like while everyone in the dorm was like, oh no, it's like a 5 to 10 minute walk away. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I want to go home and lay in bed all day. That was honestly the biggest disadvantage for me, because honestly, at first it was like a burden for me, but I do really recommend still trying to join that club. Even if you're commuting from home, make that effort. It's actually pretty worth it. It's actually a lot of fun making those connections, going to those social events, going out, maybe going bowling and stuff. That's great. Um, Honestly, if you don't, for me, I don't have a car, so it's actually really hard to commute, but I have heard about the Anteater Express. It's kind of pretty much a bus system dedicated to UCI that you can go places. One place I definitely recommend, if you do take that bus, go to Diamond Jamboree. Best place to hang out with friends, get boba, get some taiyaki if you don't know what that is. It's like a fish, ice cream, custard, kind of, I'm so something like that. It's really good. You should definitely try it.
For me, I live in ACC apartments. It's like around UC Irvine, and for me, I lived nearby the Arc, our like gym. Um, and I like for Euro like transport to school, I really take the Anteater Express, and there's a lot of lines on our street. It's pretty convenient. Like every time it took me approximately 20 minutes to go to the campus, like to go to everywhere in the campus. So yeah, it's a really good way to like go to school. However, the disadvantage is the Anteater Express are usually working during weekdays. So like in the weekends, if you want to go to the school, you can only walk, and it takes 30 minutes to walk at least. Yeah, but generally I think it's a good place to live. So yeah, ACC apartments.
Just like Olivia, I'm also in the ACC apartments. But like I also get the Anteater Express. However, for fall 2020, the Anteater Express that goes to Diamond Jamboree, Irvine Spectrum, and West Irvine is not going to be in service because of COVID-19. However, all other lines on campus will be in service for the fall academic quarter.
I did want to mention about the Anteater Express because when I was a freshman, for some reason, I thought that we had to pay to get on it. So I would like not use it at first. But then I found out you could just hop on. Like I even had my ID like ready to show it too, but no, you don't need to show your ID either. You could just hop on. But I also want to recommend like once we do go back on campus, like there's an app called Writer, and it'll show you all the times that it'll pass by like wherever you live at UCI. So that's really helpful.
Okay, I know we're like running out of time, but like she already mentioned, please download the Writer app because I had like a really late night class. Like it ended at, I don't even know, like it was like after 8, I was able to go home, or it was like around 8. I totally forgot. But anyway, it was nighttime. And then during the night, like the buses come like, yes, like Olivia is showing, it shows like that. It comes a little later. Like I had to wait 17 minutes for buses, like 12 to 17, or sometimes even longer. Like maybe longest is 20 or so. So yeah, it's a long wait. And sometimes like I was like, I don't know when the heck this bus is coming. Maybe I should just like walk across the bridge. So when my friend showed me like the Writer app, it was so useful because everyone else was like, I don't know when the bus is coming. And I was like, I know exactly when it's coming. It's like 12 minutes. So it's good to have that in your brain, like it's coming eventually. So you should download it.
Okay, so just because it is about to be 2:55, so during these last few minutes, as previously mentioned, students will have the opportunity to ask questions. So if you do have questions, please write it on the Q&A chat. We will be answering questions most out loud on a first served basis, chronological order. The regular chat will be used more for like links, as we have been putting. However, we cannot answer questions regarding your housing application or financial aid application because that is out of our expertise. But we will try to answer those questions to the best of our ability. So also, if you have questions that pertain specifically to you, please email your academic advisor. But we can answer questions regarding clubs, resources, or our own experiences with living at UCI. Basically, like anything that will help you be prepared for remote learning. So yeah, you could like just put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them out loud. You do have questions.
It could be a very wide range of questions too. Like some of the questions we even got were like, where are some good food places in Irvine? Or like, where's a good place to study or hang out? And then some questions are also asking like, when's a good time to add a major or minor? Like, how do you know, like, what's the process to go through that to add those things? Or where you could find like an internship or stuff like that. You can ask all those things. Yes, please ask questions.
Okay, so we have our first question. Yay! Okay, so the first question is, how do I add a minor?
I think it's email your academic advisor, like directly to the email to their email address and tell them which minor you want to add. That minor can be outside of School of Social Sciences, and you can also do
We have a very quiet group today.
I mean, we could also go back to our questions if, you know, they don't ask any questions for now. But please ask us any questions. Don't be afraid to. If we're talking, go ahead and ask a question in the Q&A.
We have another one actually. It says, how are the class discussions and labs like during quarantine situation?
Oh, sorry.
No,
Karen, you
go
can
ahead.
go.
Okay. Okay. So for discussions, on my part, most of my discussions were not pre-recorded. However, the lectures were pre-recorded, so like I had to like attend the discussions at the time that it was like posted. Labs, I haven't been on a lab yet. I don't know if anyone else has or has anything to say.
I just want to mention that for my econ classes, the discussions are actually pre-recorded. So you can like rewatch it online on Canvas. But for my stats class, I actually need to go to Zoom for the office hour. So it kind of depends on the professor and their teaching style, I guess.
Yeah, it depends on the professor. For my AI class, every Thursday, even though we had pre-recorded lectures, we had to meet on Thursday in order to talk and do presentations and so on and so forth. But honestly, again, it really depends on the professor because of the situation. So I definitely recommend, getting in contact, asking them, oh, how's it gonna go? Or maybe looking at your syllabus.
As for my discussions, they basically went the same way as they would like in physical form. Like just a bunch of students who are interested in the discussion came together, and then the professor was there, the TA like who helps run the whole thing was also there. And they just basically gave us some like questions. It really depends on the professor, like the style of these discussions that's already mentioned, but it's basically the purpose of these discussions are to like help you like digest the information from lecture better. They can ask you some questions or you could ask them questions. They review just some material. Just think of it as like a summarization class of like what you learned in lecture previously before the discussion. Also, some professors don't require you to attend discussion at all. Like you have to enroll into discussion. Like if the course says you have to enroll into it, but besides that, like it's up to the professor if you have to attend the discussion or not. I'd highly just recommend you to attend anyway, because a lot of the time before like a midterm or before like a final two, they give like a study guide or they go through like the main points that will be on the exam. So it's really helpful. And also be prepared. Some professors want to see your face, like have the face camera on. Some professors don't, but mine were like, if you're gonna be in this discussion, you're gonna show your face as I'm talking to you. So I was like, okay, so you might have to turn it on.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one. It says, hey guys, I was wondering if any of you have experience with language placement exams. I don't either. Maybe we could I'll look for the link for the exams. Oh, I muted myself. I'll put the link to the language placement. Oh, thank you, Kurt. So it was put in the chat. So you could click on that link and it'll give you all the information regarding like testing dates and like, if it's required or not. But you could always like email your academic advisor for more specific information as well.
Yeah, I'll just add to it just because I mentioned it earlier in the degree check. So yeah, that link base, it depends on the language, right? And what experience you've had with it. So if you've had some high school experience, then you might see that there's a certain, you might be able to count that as part of your placement, but there are many languages, for example, like the East Asian languages that we have, like Japanese, Chinese, Korean, they have actually an oral interview too, along with a written exam. So it really varies by the language exam. But if you go to that link and there's a language placement chart there, it's very specific. So it should help you out if you kind of check that.
Thank you, Kurt. So we have one more question as well. It says, do you guys think I could put off the language requirement for international studies until next year? I know someone said to do it ASAP, but I already signed up for classes.
I guess I can chime in again on that one. So for the language, you don't necessarily have to start it this quarter, right? But I would recommend at least trying to do the placement exam, because if you want to know how many courses you need to get to the 2B level, right? So if you need, like, say 4 classes to get there, you don't want to delay too much longer, because then you have to start taking those once a quarter, and that's 4 quarters that you might need it. So yeah, you definitely don't have to start it in the fall quarter, but definitely take the placement exam as soon as you can, just so you know how many courses are left, so you know, backing it up at the end.
Any more questions? Just ask anything. Our favorite spots in Irvine, I don't know.
Literally, like last time we had somebody ask about tattoos, which is a really weird topic, but we still answered
Give
anyway.
them advice, the best advice.
I feel like every time now, if we have like complete silence, I just have to bring up the tattoo and maybe it'll spark some conversation.
Some people are interested in like research or graduate school too. A lot of us are actually interested in graduate school or thinking about it currently. So you can also ask about that. There's also something called a gap year. If you're interested in learning about a gap year, why it should be relevant. Yeah, really be anything.
Maybe it'd be good if we wait a few moments, if nothing shows up, we can always talk about the other questions that we haven't answered yet. I think there were 2 other ones we haven't done.
So just meanwhile, if you guys think about questions, I'll ask the questions to our panel. So how can students get involved in research? Are any of our PAs involved in research?
So I was involved this previous year in like this research series under the program in public health. So I honestly found out about that series through my email. So they sent it and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. So I like sent an application and then it like went in. So it was a year-long series. So I was able to learn about research ethics. I was able to learn like from researchers on campus, and then they brought in like multiple guest speakers to talk about their own projects. And then in winter quarter, they assigned us to a mentor. So that was really like amazing because I was able to work under Dr. LeBron, who's a professor in the Chicano Latino department and the program in public health. So I literally learned so much under her. Like I loved working with her in the anti-soil lead project, where they kind of uncover like lead exposures in Santa Ana, which is near Irvine. And then like I love working with her so much, I asked her to be my mentor this upcoming year again under the public health honors program. So I'm very excited because I'll be conducting my own study and then, you know, continue being under her mentorship. And then in the end, well, over the course of this next year, I'll be writing my own honors thesis. So yeah, like just always keep an eye out for emails because a lot of opportunities do come up in there.
I'm currently involved in a research project with a professor from the cognitive science department. So I found this research opportunity from Europe, the undergraduate research opportunities program. I'll type in the link below after I finish talking. So after I like look at some brief introduction of some professors' research, I landed on one, and then I just emailed the professor and asked him if he was still hiring research assistants. So after a brief interview, I was in. So I do recommend checking out the Europe website if you're interested in researching, and also just feel free to directly talk to a professor in office hour to ask about like his or her current research or like anything you're interested in. You might suggest a new research topic to the professor. That's what I did. So yeah, that really helped.
Just to add to what Jessica said, yeah, like the undergraduate research opportunities program, they're hosting events for students to ask questions regarding like research, or if they're interested in research. if you go on their website, they have on and off campus opportunities, research opportunities, my bad. And they also have a student research interest form. So basically it's a form where you fill out, you talk about yourself, your research interests, your goals, and then your op will contact you via email, and so you could set up an appointment and talk to a research counselor.
Well, I'm not in research, but I was interested in taking on research like last year. So I have gone through like the process of searching for one and talking to professors. So I feel like a lot of students wonder why, how they can like go about like getting the research opportunity. So what a lot of students do is if there's like a professor that you enjoy taking a lecture with and you enjoy like the subject that they're teaching, or if there's a specific like topic that you're interested in like studying for, like comp sci or like psychology, or I'm being really biased because I'm a psychology major, or any other majors out there or topics, you could always look it up in like you say faculty. You can just type in like the Google search bar and type in like the professor's name, or like type in the topic that you're interested in or the majors, and it should list like all the faculty members and look for the professors there. And each professor, like they have like some information, like informational like website about them, and some of them even made their like own website. So it has all of their previous research and current research and everything listed on there for you to view. Some of it's free, some of it you might have to purchase, but a lot of it is you could view it to some degree. Don't try to understand all of it because if you were able to understand all that, you shouldn't even be in college probably. You're like a prodigy, so don't worry about reading all of it. Just read through like the introduction or like the bottom part mostly, like the conclusions and like a little meaty parts, and then you go, if you're still interested, you could go talk to the professor who like conducted it and stuff. Yeah, and in order to that, you have to like email them obviously and be like, oh, hello, like my name is blah, blah, I'm like a fourth year. I read about your research, it was really interesting. Is it possible if I can meet up with you and talk to you about it a little further? And then they could be like, sure, this is my office hour and day and time, you can come meet me. You could go meet them, talk about it. And then if you're still interested in the topic, you could ask the professor like, oh, I'm currently interested in like trying to find research and like be more experienced in it. Do you have like a spot on your lab? And they'll tell you yes or no. And sometimes it's a no, but don't feel discouraged. A lot of labs get full very quickly, and especially if it's like a really popular professor. I can't talk today. Yeah, there's also forms online, like where they look for people to apply to their labs. So that's also a method if you want like a faster method potentially. So.
Okay, I'll go ahead and move on to the next question. It says, I think this question would be more for Kurt. I received my requirement sheet and it looks a little different from the 1920 that was shown as an example earlier. Mine is for the catalog year of 1819. I was wondering why that is.
Okay, good question. I kind of went over it briefly at the beginning, but it was kind of very brief. But basically, the degree check that I showed you was a sample one. So some students are following a different catalog year depending on what courses you've taken at your previous college. So you might have made more progress in one catalog year versus another. So if you made more progress in, say, the other catalog year, that is the degree check that was sent to you via email, since you would have less courses in that degree catalog year. So that explains that. But if you have more specific questions, definitely email me, because I think I'm the one that sent you the emails. So if you have any specific questions about like your degree check or your catalog year, then just shoot me an email and I can go ahead and clarify it for you even further.
Yay. Okay, so we have another question as well. Where do you guys recommend living for transfer students? I've heard VDC is nice.
Personally, I haven't, again, I didn't dorm, but I have heard that there's a transfer house. I think it's Arroyo Vista, which is pretty much like a themed house just for transfers. I can get a link and show you some of the housing as well as what the transfer house is about. I think I've also heard some good things about Messacourt because it's really like quiet and more like aesthetic because of all the plants and nice green everywhere. And it's more quiet compared to Middle Earth, if that's correct.
So I guess like just to start off, base it off like your financial aid award. Like I'm at Camino del Sol. I love Camino del Sol, especially like the 4-bed, 4.5 bathroom, because I got my own bathroom, like privacy, I love it. But yeah, like the only reason I was able to afford it was because of like a couple of scholarships, thankfully. But yeah, I love Camino del Sol. I think it's pretty quiet. Well, actually like more now since like the pandemic. Sometimes like I do hear like music or whatever, but it's not like annoying. Yeah, that's about it. I just love the privacy at Camino.
I also, oh, you could go ahead.
Okay, sorry, that was super confusing. I lived at VDC my second year, and it is super nice. I also had was like able to get my own room, but I shared a bathroom with like the other girl who also had her own room. So like the apartment was split in half. There were 2 rooms and then a bathroom for each side. But I will say that it's like if you take the bus, I thought it was really far because it's like it's not only far like away, but it's also up a hill. So like that became a problem for me with the bus. One time the bus was late and I had an 8 a.m. final, and the bus came at 7:30. So then there was a whole line for the bus. So I feel like that would be the only thing why I don't like VDC, is just because it's the furthest. So like if the bus picks up people on the way, you're like the last. So, but the actual apartments are nice. I lived on the 3rd floor, so I didn't have like neighbors above me. So that was also nice, but that's not something I think you can choose. So.
I was just going to mention like another ACC apartment. I've been living in Puerta del Sol since my second year, so it's been like 3 years. I lived in a double with my roommate. She was a high school friend, so we've been dorming together since our first year. I would say it's very cool, like beneficial, just because it's close to campus. Like I could go walking or I could take the bus, depending like what area I'm gonna go to, because the bus stop is literally like really close. And also we live like right in front of like the plaza where Albertsons is at. So if we need groceries or like there's like fast food places as well. So if we're just hungry and stuff, like we could go there as well. They have like study rooms. They have like they give you like a laundry card as well, so you can use that too. I've been living comfortably. I know some people don't like it as much just because the rooms are small, but for me they're not, just because I mean I've never had my own room, so I've always shared, so I didn't mind. I guess it's just your own personal situation. But yeah, I think it's one of the more cheaper options, I would say.
Just to quickly add, I also have my own washer and dryer, which is so cool. Yeah.
Just to add again, just same kind of thing. If you are going to look at ACC housing, I know that if you're planning on bringing your own car, that can be an additional expense. I think it's per quarter. It's almost, I don't quite remember, but it was almost $300 per quarter. So that's something to keep in mind if you're planning on living there and also bringing your own car. But, if you need your car, then you need your car. There's not much you could do about that. So just parking in general is also pricey. So just be aware of that. Yeah.
I also want to add on the parking because I brought a car to Irvine. So yeah, it is very pricey, and everything Katherine said was like true. I know some friends who like forgot to, because it's a quarterly purchase, the parking, at least in like for ACC. So you have to make sure you remember to buy like a new parking form and like buy the new parking permit for the following quarter near the end of the current quarter, because that's when the forms come out. So yeah, don't forget to purchase those, because you don't want to like go into like the beginning of the new quarter or the following quarter with like a ticket on your car. So yeah, if you're also for the Anteater parking structure, because I think that's where like a lot of the ACC homes park, because I lived in Camino too, so that's where I parked at least. They do check like the cars and stuff, so yeah, don't think you'll get away with it. Make sure you buy the ticket, buy the permit and all that.
Sorry, to add on again, when you buy the parking permit, make sure you check your email, because you have to confirm your license plate number, because I didn't do that and I got a violation. So like even though I bought the permit, I didn't confirm it, and I got a ticket. So just like make sure to like really stay on top of it, because they will not warn you or prompt you. You just have to like do it all yourself. So like, yeah.
Okay, we just got more questions. So what kinds of activities do you guys think I could expect from clubs with this coming quarter being online? So I'll give just a little insight on like my experience. So for me, they just use Zoom, honestly, just to hold trainings or just even just to socialize as how we're doing. Yeah, just to keep up with each other. So we've just been doing Zoom just as you would like with friends or just with lectures type of thing.
For my club, we've also been seeing each other. Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm like cutting everyone off all the time. I'm really sorry. Okay. I'll go on. I'm sorry, Iris. Yeah, my club has been sending us some stuff like back and forth. Like one time we did like a gift exchange. So we just feel like Amazon Prime or something, you know, like just like send it to each other. Or we have like an interactive activity sometimes. So we just like one person in the club is like in charge of sending those things once in a while. So they send it out to us, we split the costs, and then we like get on Zoom and like do it together. So yeah, Zoom can be interactive too, but we do use Zoom still.
I would just like to add that in terms of club activities, it would just be Zoom, like Marimar and Christy mentioned, and just trying to find like great like exercises, games to play. You know, as far as my club, we are in the process of developing some kind of like plan so we can like ensure that we all have a good fun experience and also learning experience as well. So the clubs are gonna keep going, the meetings are gonna happen, but it's all gonna be via Zoom just because of COVID. Sucks.
I think it definitely depends on the club. I know some go through Zoom, some go through Facebook. For most of the clubs I'm in, especially for the Anteater Student Audio Production Club, I can't say ASAP or else no one's going to know what I'm trying to say. For that, since we are doing audio production, we actually use Discord. So we're able to share our screen, listen to each other's music, look at like FL Studio, Reaper, if any of you know what that means. So honestly, the Discord thing is going pretty well, in my opinion.
I'll go ahead and move to the next question. So it says, which dining hall has better food?
This is super biased, but I prefer the Anteatery. I also only ate there because Middle Earth or whatever the brandy one, what it used to be called, was too far and I was too lazy. So like I'm very biased towards the Anteatery. Also, it was so big. There's so many stations, like salad, check, omelets, check, burgers, chicken, like macaroni. Sometimes they had theme nights. I don't know. Super biased. They had great food. 10 out of 10.
I think I'm gonna have to be Team Brandywine, Catherine. So I'm gonna say Brandywine just because I used to work near it, so like we would always go during like work lunch to there. They had like, I don't know, I guess I like their ice cream a lot. I like their desserts. Yeah, I think I don't know, I just like the whole vibe. Like they had nice art in there, so maybe that's why too. But yeah, I'm gonna say Brandywine. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. It says, where do you guys like getting food / boba? That's amazing.
Boba? I heard boba. For me, go to University Town Square. It's like literally if you take, what was it, the overpass from UCI, it's like a giant bridge over the road. You get to University Town Square, you'll see like Chipotle, In-N-Out, man, what's that other place called? Chick-fil-A. If you keep walking, there's this thing called Cha for Tea. and they have such good boba. I always get them because I need to de-stress after class, and I think what was it called? Their green mango tea boba is so good. You should definitely try it.
I am a boba maniac. Like, I have driven far and I've driven wide to get good boba during my time in Irvine. Yeah, I would say on campus, they have really good boba places. Like Waylon already mentioned, there's Chopper Tea, there's Shared Tea, which is my personal favorite on campus. I think I like the ones that have like a deeper kind of ish flavor, I guess. I like Shared Tea. I might be missing one other boba place, but maybe not. If you have a car though, or if you have like a friend who has a car, then you can definitely go to like Tancha. It's very, very close to campus, like a couple-minute drive. They opened recently last year, or last quarter it might have been, and just like really creamy drinks, like if you like the frothy things on the top. They also sell like fluffy Japanese like pancakes there. There's also Seven Leaves, which is really good. Yeah, and Diamond Jamboree was already mentioned a lot of times, but it's also close by to campus if you have like a vehicle that can take you there. There's a lot of desserts. There's like a bakery. There's like a Asian market there too. There's ramen places. Yeah, and then, oh yeah, BCD is my favorite. It's like a Korean tofu soup place. It's really popular. Yeah, check those places.
You're talking about 85 Degree Bakery, right? Is that the one you're thinking of? Great place to get bread and desserts. I love it. Loli Cup is right next to it, and I talked about Somi Somi very badly. Let me try it again. It's a taiyaki, which is pretty much like bread with like a paste or some sort of custard, and then you can put ice cream on top with toppings. It's so good if you guys go there. It's so good. And if you do, maybe by chance, you're able to drive even farther, I definitely recommend this place called Class 302. It's pretty much a boba place, but you can add as much toppings, as many of the drinks as you want. It's kind of like Yogurtland, but for boba.
I think they asked what was it called.
Which one?
Which one?
We talked about a lot of boba and food.
We'll wait for them to type.
Right. We're just like waiting. Come on. Anticipation. Which one?
Maybe Class 302.
Maybe. I can also send a link. I definitely recommend. I usually get the honeydew. It's so good.
This isn't a promotion. I mean, this isn't for ads or something.
They said the one that Waylon was just talking about. So I think 302, right?
I think it's Class 302. The one I talked about, like Yogurtland, but for boba. Because honestly, I get the giant cup and I put as much toppings as possible, and then I like try to like squish in the juice as much, and I'm like, please fill in. There we go. I can also send a link.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If you're gonna study there though, make sure your laptop's charged, or like all your appliances are charged. There's no charger there. So my friend and I got duped when we went there like super late, and we're like, never mind. My battery's like 9%, so this isn't gonna work.
Plus, they have really good shaved ice. If you guys haven't had like the Taiwanese shaved ice, it's so good, so good.
Any more questions?
Actually, we do have another question, if it's okay if I can pop in. They said, what are some nice places to be around Irvine? I've been to Newport, but that's it. I'm just going to jump in on this question. I'm going to say Diamond Jamboree again, but not just because of the food this time. The reason why I also say Diamond Jamboree is because, one, they have a karaoke room. I'm all about that. And right next to the karaoke room, there's an escape room. If you have never been to an escape room before, I recommend doing it at least once in your life. It is so much fun when you're doing it with friends. And then it gets overwhelming at some point because everyone's yelling at each other, trying to find out where the next clue is. But by the end, it's amazing. I went to a Harry Potter one, and it was so much fun. also Disneyland.
Okay, I guess I could pop in. Yeah, Laguna Beach is also really good too if you haven't been there. It's only a couple minute drive, basically, it's not too far. It's basically it's like known for their art, like all the artsy stuff in the area, and it's really cute. I would say it's really charming, like little town kind of vibes. And I think there's Earth Cafe there too, which is pretty popular. I went once, I don't know why I can't remember, but it was really good. Good food, good vibes. You see a lot of people walking their dogs. And if you feel like going near the ocean for like a little foot dive, it's like there too. People play volleyball there. There's like a really good chocolate place there too, like a little chocolate store. So if you want like a little sugar hype, you could go there.
So I really like Crystal Cove. It's like you could also hike there. It's literally like right by the beach. It's 14 minutes away. You do have to pay for parking. It's $15. However, it's like an all-day parking, so you can like leave and you could come back. And so basically, it's up to like sunset. So like once it's sunset, you have to leave from the parking. But yeah, it's like an all-day thing. You could like leave and come back. I also really like Pirate Tower, which is like 30 to 45 minutes. It's a little far, but it's like an adventure. And what Pirate Tower is, I guess like I'll give like a little background. So Pirate Tower is like an old tower in Laguna Beach. It's called Pirate Tower because the person who made it, basically, how do I explain? So like he made it for kids, and he would like pass out candy, and the kids would play pirates. And yeah, Pirate Tower. It's like abandoned, and it's at the beach. So yeah, that's like 30 to 45 minutes away. And I'll like reply to that question just in case. Yeah.
I just want to add one more. Like, there's Turtle Rock near campus, and it's actually a little hill, but you can go there like during nights, and there you can have the whole view of Irvine. It's really pretty.
So just a heads up, everyone, we're out 2 minutes, but feel free to ask us any last minute questions you want to ask, anything, literally. I am welcome to talk about Disneyland for the next 2 minutes if we have to. But yeah, ask us any questions. We still have 2 minutes.
Just in case, I am going to be putting our PA email, the transfer email, and a little to learn more about us, just in case.